Breakfast salads are all the rage in the trendy cafes in Sydney and in Melbourne. So I thought I'd replicate one of those trendy salads by using a variety of greens and shades of purple in the salad. Now, I'm going to serve this with some sautéed speck and a poached egg. This is where it gets really interesting. Look at this new variety of vegetable. This is a cross between kale and Brussels sprouts. And what I love about it is those little crinkled leaves that look like kale, but it's that little bundle that comes from a Brussels sprout. Now, these are red Brussels sprouts. Of course, they've got a purple tinge to them, but this is what the variety is called. And I love the flavour of them. They're not too bitter. They're actually quite sweet and nutty. So I'm going to be using them in the braise. Before we get onto that, let's get onto the base of this, some speck. Now, I love the use of speck, but you could use some pancetta for this or some bacon. Again, we're trying to replicate all the things we love at breakfast time: bacon, eggs, and some sautéed spinach. Now, I'm taking the skin off the speck, and then I'll cut this into lardons, which are large battens. I'll use 3 big chunky slices of that and then cut them into little rectangles. Now, I've been preheating a pan just on a medium heat, and I'll start by adding this and just rendering away some of the fat. I want this to be really, really crispy, so that can go in first. Separate the battens, and while that fat is rendering and they start to become crispy, we'll prepare the other things that go in the base of this. Some red chilli that I'll finely slice. I'm just cutting this into rounds. I like the shape of it, and I like little speckles of red throughout the braise of these vegetables. And a hint of garlic. Now, you don't want too much garlic in the morning, so I only want half a clove of garlic that I'll finely slice. And for a mild onion flavour, spring onions are perfect for this. 4 spring onions, and I just want the white and pale green part. I don't need to use the dark green. So again, finely slicing. Okay, that's plenty of spring onion. And now let's have a look at these little battens of speck. Oh, yes. Now that a little bit of that fat has rendered, we can add in the garlic, the chilli, and the spring onions. You don't want to add the garlic, spring onions, and chilli at the beginning because it'll burn. And then for the Brussels sprouts, I'll just take the bottom off because it's a little bit woody, and then cut them in half. And just have a look how gorgeous these are in the centre. See that little lining of purple and white? Just stunning. So I just need a small handful of these. The Brussels sprouts are going to take longer to cook, so they go into the pan first. So I'll cut a few of these, and you can add any vegetable you like. I know it sounds strange to have Brussels sprouts at breakfast, but these are fantastic because they're not so bitter. And you know what, I say it's for breakfast, but this could be a really delicious brunch or lunch too. Right, I'll gather all these red Brussels sprouts and they can go in. And again, no oil required, so in with a big handful of the kalette as is, and then I'll also add some beautiful fresh spinach. Look at that spinach, fantastic. Mushrooms are also really nice for this recipe, and you put them in at the beginning with the Brussels sprouts. So I'm just giving that a really quick toss so everything's coated in the speck fat. And then I'll just turn the heat down now. I'll add a little bit of lemon juice. Squeeze that over. Well, that is one juicy lemon. I only need half of this. And the speck's quite salty, so I'm just adding a very small pinch of salt because we still need to season the vegetables. So a small pinch and one last toss. You know, this is going to continue cooking in the pan, so I'm going to turn it off while we prepare our poached egg. Now, I know I've shown you how to poach eggs many times, but I still think it's one of those things that everyone needs to know how to do. It's a fantastic technique. And here's a few little pointers. A big pot of simmering water. In that water, I'll add a good amount of white vinegar, a few tablespoons at least. I think the most crucial thing is to have really good quality, free-range, fresh eggs for this. The fresher the egg, the easier it is to poach. Crack the egg into a little bowl because it just makes it a little bit easier. Now, get a big spoon and then form a whirlpool effect in the water, and then start with 1 egg at a time and then pop it in the water into the centre. And you'll see how that egg white is just really going in a circle motion, forming that perfect poached egg. Now, this is going to take about 2 to 3 minutes. I like my eggs to be really runny. Once it's cooked, I'll strain it and drain it on some paper toweling, and then we're ready to plate up. This egg is just perfect. So out of the water, onto that paper toweling, and then drain it off. You don't want these eggs to be watery at all, so draining it is a good idea. And then just to serve it, I'll get a nice mound of all of these delicious vegetables and that speck, and then I'll take off the excess of the egg very carefully and place it in the center there. Now, I love the addition of Parmesan cheese. It looks fantastic and it just gives it some extra saltiness over the top. There you have it. Sauteed Kalettes, Brussels sprouts, the red variety, speck, and that egg, just perfect. You know, I'm gonna cut into this egg to show you that anyone can make gorgeous poached eggs. Yummo.